Let's talk about burnout. It feels like such a modern problem, right? But what if I told you the solution isn't some new productivity hack, but an idea that's thousands of years old? An idea that flips everything we think we know about effort right on its head. So, does this sound like you? You're hustling, you're always on, you're putting in all the hours, but you feel like you're just spinning your wheels. You're actually getting less and less done the harder you try. It's just this feeling of being completely swamped. There's just so much noise, so much talk, and this constant pressure to do more, be more. And the result? You're just wiped out, completely exhausted. And that feeling of exhaustion, well, that leads us right into what you could call the burnout trap. Let's look at why just trying harder is the one thing that never works.
You know, when we feel that burnout creeping in, what's our first instinct? We try to double down, right? We try to be nicer to everybody, please everyone, and we try to get a tighter grip on controlling every little thing. But what if that's the trap? What if trying to be so kind and in control is actually the very thing that's draining us?
And that question brings us to our first piece of ancient wisdom. It's a huge lesson, and it's all about letting go of that desperate need for control. Okay, I know, that sounds pretty harsh, doesn't it? Straw dogs, it's a really provocative image, but I promise it's not about being cruel. It's about a totally different kind of wisdom. So, what on earth is a straw dog? So, picture this. In these ancient ceremonies, straw dogs were these beautiful ritual objects. During the event, they were treated with the highest honor, total reverence. But the second the ceremony was over, they were just discarded, not smashed in anger, not lovingly packed away, just set aside. Their job was done. The key here is the complete lack of emotional attachment, good or bad.
And this idea just perfectly illustrates the difference between two ways of operating. On the one hand, you have emotional favoritism. You know, playing favorites, trying to please certain people. It's messy, it's draining, it creates so much drama. But on the other hand, you have impartial fairness. Think about it like gravity. Gravity doesn't play favorites. It applies the same rules to everyone, everywhere, no matter what. It's objective. And that kind of impartial approach, it creates clarity and it saves you an incredible amount of energy. So, if we let go of all that emotional baggage and trying to control everything, what do we fill that space with? Well, this leads us to our next big idea, finding unbelievable power, not in being full of stuff, but in being empty. Think about a blacksmith's bellows for a second, that tool they use to pump air and make a fire roar. This ancient idea asks us to imagine the whole universe, the space around us, as a giant bellows. It looks empty, right? But it's actually the source of limitless, inexhaustible power. And the process is so elegant and simple. First, it's empty. That emptiness is what creates the potential, the space for something to happen. Then, it moves. And as it moves, it creates this powerful, endless flow of air. It fuels the fire without ever running out. The real power, the ability to create, doesn't come from what's in the bellows. It comes from the fact that it's empty to begin with. And once you start looking, you see this powerful emptiness everywhere. It's that feeling of being in a flow state where your chattering mind goes quiet and great ideas just seem to pour through you. It's a blank canvas for an artist, pure, infinite possibility. It's even the silence between the notes that gives music its power and its feeling. It's a mind clear of chatter. Okay, so we've talked about letting go like nature does and embracing the power of emptiness. But how do we actually put this all together and use it in our crazy modern lives? Well, it all comes down to one thing: finding your calm center. And this, right here, is the antidote. All that extra talk, the endless meetings, the pointless arguments, the constant worrying in our own heads, that's what's really making us exhausted. The answer isn't to talk more or try harder. It's to do the exact opposite. Hold fast to the center. So really, we're all faced with this choice every day. On one side, you have the path of more talk, more meetings, more arguments, more mental noise, total burnout. On the other side, you have the center. You quiet your mind, you listen more than you speak, and you act from a place of balance, not just frantic reaction. This is such a perfect way to visualize it.
A gyroscope is unbelievably stable, right? But it's not stable because it's rigid or being held in place by force. It's stable because it's in motion, spinning steadily and consistently around one single, calm point at its center. That's the goal. Not to do nothing, but to find that inner stillness that allows you to move through the world with power and balance.
So what does this look like practically speaking? First, just reduce the unnecessary talk. Cut out the gossip, the pointless debates. Second, find ways to quiet your mind. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's a walk, maybe it's just deep focus on one thing. And finally, before you act, just pause. Act from your core values, from that calm center, not from a knee-jerk emotional reaction.
All right, we've covered a lot here, from straw dogs to gyroscopes. But really, it all boils down to a simple but profound shift in how we see the world. And that leaves us with one last question for you to think about. Our world is screaming for more, all the time. More meetings, more notifications, more noise. But what if the real power, the real path to getting more done and feeling better comes from subtraction? So think about it. What is the one thing you could let go of, starting today, to find a little more of that quiet, powerful center?